In today's W analysis, what is the Eyes on the Prize documentary? Eyes on the Prize is a multi-award winning documentary that chronicles the civil rights movement from 1954 through the racial crossroads till 1985. It's in the actions. Memories of a Nonviolent Warrior is a book that speaks to the activism of Reverend C.T. Vivian. The book is comprised of transcripts of speeches, newspaper articles, and excerpts from C.T. Vivian's interview with the Eyes on the Prize documentary. Within the documentary, C.T. speaks to his experience within the civil rights struggle, particularly his work in the Nashville sit-ins, demonstrations, and boycotts, down to his time in Mississippi's notorious Parchman Prison, and his work and efforts in the Selma voting rights movement. Why Nashville? C.T. was born in Missouri and formally educated in Illinois. He stated that Nashville presented one of the perfect opportunities to help fight racism and end segregation because Nashville had a number of colleges, with a number of those colleges being theological seminaries. With the mixture of young black and white students approaching religion from a more pure and intellectual perspective, this gave the movement a higher moral threshold to challenge the Southern white evangelism. In addition to this, a number of black ministers were already organizing amongst each other, their congregations, and themselves. While in Nashville, C.T. attended American Baptist Theological Seminary and pastored First Community Church and was the editor at the National Baptist Sunday School Publishing Board of the National Baptist Convention. His leadership and expertise made him crucial in the Nashville movement. C.T. preached and taught the nonviolence approach as a tactic, literally hosting workshops where participants learned how to prepare for the brutality of the movement. In addition, C.T. and the other ministers met with the merchants of downtown Nashville, urging them to desegregate their stores and restaurants, else demonstrations and boycotts would come. Reluctant, things remained segregated, and sit-ins began to commence. The sit-in demonstrations sparked social dilemma on scales that the racist South was desperately fighting to suppress. The sit-ins, coupled with the nonviolence that had been applied, forced racism to expose itself, and ultimately a city would embarrass a state would embarrass the country, and the country claiming freedom for all was embarrassed on a global stage. C.T. was quite the agitator and implementer. Once the sit-in demonstrations gained its footing, the movement added economic withdrawal to businesses in downtown Nashville. C.T. would go on to tell members of the movement and his congregation, boycotting was an economic withdrawal. Understand, those resources that God gave you could not be used to perpetuate an evil. So to put them in the hands of merchants who were perpetuating the evils of racism will be against God and a misuse of that which was given. With dual usage of nonviolent demonstrations and boycotts, Nashville storefronts and restaurants saw no traffic. Of course, if you had the audacity to go against the status quo during these times, jail and prison were a given. In the Eyes on the Prize, C.T. speaks to his time in Mississippi's infamous Parchman Prison. However, with the many horror stories the prison holds, C.T. spoke to how he and everyone who was arrested for their participation in the movement would have Sunday services in the prison and sing songs and hymns throughout the cells to keep everyone's spirits engaged. This might serve as a metaphor for the life and times of C.T. Vivian. Despite the external circumstances, even physical confinement, C.T.'s spirit stayed uplifted and dedicated to the cause of overcoming evil with good works and tireless faith. Though he died a year before the completion of It's in the Action, Memories of a Nonviolent Warrior, the book itself speaks to how others adored C.T.'s commitment to his cause, his energetic resolve, and love for people. Also, for a more in-depth understanding of the civil rights movement as a whole, the Eyes on the Prize documentary is available on Amazon and YouTube. Like if you enjoyed this segment, share if it can benefit others, subscribe for more book-related content. Till then, stay in a book or stay out the way.